Okay, so I wanted to give a couple book recommendations for anybody that is just working on figuring yourself out. Maybe you feel like you're going through a spiritual awakening, or maybe you just feel like you need to be renewed or refreshed. These few books helped me when I was going through this journey, which I'm still going through. In no particular order. This one is The Mindfulness Plain and Simple by Ali Doyle, I believe is the name. And this is such a good book. If you're trying to figure out how to be mindful in a practical and realistic way, this is the book for you. This really helped me to put everything into perspective. And I actually go back to read this book a lot. I read this, cover to cover in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days. And I always go back to this book. I have a lot of notes and highlights in here. It's such a good book. Highly recommend. Okay, so the next one is Enneagram Transformations. If you're into like personality tests, even if you don't necessarily believe in them in a sense, because a lot of people put like a religious perspective on it or like a spiritual perspective on it, but it's really just learning yourself more like on a deeper level. But this book is a little different because it goes into Enneagrams and personality types, but it focuses on being indifferent to your personality, if that makes sense. For example, not being one of those people that's like, oh, this is just my personality type, like I'm like this because this is my personality. Or like how people always blame things on their sign, like, oh, I'm a Libra, like of course I do that, that's what Libras do. This book helps you to learn about your Enneagram and not try to use it as an excuse or use your personality type as an excuse. Okay, so the next one, it's kind of okay, this one's definitely more of a spiritual book, but I would recommend it for anybody, whether you're spiritual or not. But this one is called Trust Your Vibes, and it's written by Sonia Choquette. I think that's how you pronounce it. And she is a psychic, but it is not. It's about tapping into your psychic abilities, but this is all about self-improvement. This is all about introspection, the books that I'm recommending. And this one definitely goes into deep introspection about who you are and how to trust yourself. It's more so a book about intuition, those gut feelings. This book goes into great detail. And again, like I said, it is a spiritual book, but I would recommend it for people who aren't spiritual because it gives you more practical and realistic ways and approaches of how to listen to your intuition. The final one that I'm going to recommend for anybody that is working on going through, shifting your identity or just figuring yourself out or going through a spiritual awakening is by one of my favorite authors, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Can you tell I'm super nerdy and I love to learn about the brain? Okay, this one is called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. This is my all-time #1 recommendation for anybody, no matter where you're at in your life. This is such a good read. I have so many notes in this book, and I always go back and read this book. I've probably read this book 3 times now. So if you're trying to shift from creating a whole new persona for yourself, if you're trying to work on renewing yourself inwardly and outwardly, this is such a great book. It goes into the science of the brain and how to form new neural pathways, and it goes through step by step of how to change and improve your life, whatever aspect of your life you're trying to work on and change. This is such a great book. I believe he is a psychologist or a neuroscientist. I forgot. Is he a neuroscientist? Gosh, that's a big difference. Neuroscientist, psychologist, not really, they both study the brain, but yes, this is such a good read. I'm telling you, I highly recommend this book and any other book by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I have a couple of his books. Another great book that I don't have here, it's on my bookshelf here, is called The Placebo Effect, and that is such a good book as well. Highly recommend that. But these are just a few books that I recommend if you are trying to work on changing yourself, changing your personality, be more mindful and work on your goals. This is all about self-improvement. These are not traditional self-help books. These are more practical, definitely a bit scientific and more, in my opinion, more realistic than your traditional, self-help books. So these are the recommendations.